Triggered happening right now with a special guest, Angelo Gargano, 3-time Ninja Warrior champion. Yes?
I mean, not a champion, but I did good.
You did great.
I did good.
All right. Angela, tell us who you are.
Who I am? Okay, yeah, so my name is Angelo Gargano. I'm American Ninja Warrior. Currently, I run an online business that teaches people how to do pull-ups. It's an interactive pull-up program that I run right now, which is pretty exciting. But I definitely had a lot of history before that. So I actually started as a chemist, as we were talking about before. I was actually I graduated with a biochemistry degree. And then after, I know, crazy. So I did a biochemistry degree. And while I was doing the biochemistry, I was doing some really amazing things. I was working at Brown. I was working with, working with prostate cancers and making compounds for it and all sorts of cool sciencey stuff. And I realized as I'm doing this that I was itching to do something. And I was a gymnast in college, so I feel like I was itching for like some kind of something athletic. Because after you do athletics, people don't always tell you that there's like not a transition into just like real life. Because in athletics in college, like you're on a team, you got a coach, you got all this stuff going on. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, real world, go to the gym. And you're like, what? Like, what do you mean?
What do I do here?
Like, I don't want to pick up a bar. Like, what is going on? So it was definitely like a big shocker. And I always had this in the back of my head that I want to do something with fitness. But my parents always said, like, that's not a career and that's not something that you can do. So one day, and again, I always tell people that I quit my job, but I tell them that I was smart about it. I saved a bunch of money up, made sure I was going to be set. And then I quit my job and then I decided to open a gym, which was crazy. So I owned a gym in Cranston, Rhode Island. I was training I used to train gymnastics, coach gymnastics a little bit. So I was training the parents of the gymnasts, which is crazy. So it became this big community, AG Athletics, amazing. And, while I was doing that, I was doing fitness competitions and then Ninja Warrior and all sorts of crazy things were coming up. And then I wound up traumatically tearing my ACL on Ninja Warrior last year. Which actually, I was just looking, it wasn't last year, sorry, it was 2 years ago. I was just looking at the memories from my comeback season.
Wait, so hold on. So you were a chemist. Then you decided to just quit cold one day with some money saved.
I had money saved, and then I walked in one day and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I was making so much money. I was on a great path, had a 401k, like
you're on a great path.
Yeah, exactly. I had all this stuff, going for me. And then but I knew I was in my brain that as I was there, I was thinking about, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about fitness, and I was training for fitness competitions then. So I was running at midnight. Okay. So I was working an overnight shift. So I was running at midnight around the campus and eating well. And everybody around me was asking me what I was doing. So I was helping them. Right. And then I felt so fulfilled from that. So it was like, I have to leave. I have to do this now. Right. Which is crazy because I remember back then, like I always thought that when you got out of college, you were just supposed to have it figured out kind of thing. Like
we're kind of told that.
Yeah. Like you have a degree and it's like, aren't you supposed to just get the job and be done with it? Like that's supposed to be.
And then you're on autopilot.
Yeah, you're good, right? That's how I assumed life would be. I didn't realize it was going to take me on this crazy journey to like opening a gym. And then, like I said,
how did you actually open the gym?
So this was crazy. Yeah. So I was a gymnastics instructor. Once I quit, I was like, all right, I need to have some kind of income. So I was like, I'm going to coach gymnastics. And then the lady, the owner there was like, hey, you can actually train the parents. Because parents always ask to be trained. So I was training the parents like after the kids, which is kind of cool because the parents would train with me. They want to be strong and the kids would join in sometimes. So we're turning this like nice little family, like community. Now I say this I say this as if it just kind of like took off like really quickly, but it totally didn't. Like literally there was a year where I had one or two people in my classes every day. And it just like wasn't budging. Like I was doing everything, everything I possibly could. The money was like almost running out and I was kind of freaking out. So I was trying to do what I could to get people in. Until one day, because I didn't stop and I kept pushing it, all of a sudden it was just like, boom. Then there was more people coming in. People were referring me. The kids liked me. So it started to expand because of that. And then I opened my own facility after it grew, because I figured that was what's next, right? Same thing, just like we were saying with with college. Like you just assume like, you got all these clients, so what are you gonna do? Obviously you're gonna open a gym.
Yeah.
Like,
You have these, I feel like we all look at what other people have done and you're like, oh, well, I guess that's just what I should do.
Yeah. And I that was actually my dream. It was always in my vision board. Like I want to open this gym, and then same thing. That was like my end all. Like that's all I thought was going to happen after that. So I opened it, but what I didn't realize when opening a gym, obviously, is that, you're not just like coaching people anymore. You're now like running a facility. You're now a janitor. You're now an accountant. You're now dealing with landlords. You're dealing with bullshit. Like, and it's really was stressing me out so much. I did it all by myself, and I was very stupid, and I did it like with my savings, and I did it like with credit card, and I didn't really, think about it.
I launched my first business like that too when I was like 21.
Yeah, right. So it's like
all my credit cards.
I'm just like, whatever. I'm like, they gave me all this money on the credit card, and might as well just use it, and it's like interest free for like this long. So you think, oh, I'll pay that off. Like it's a gym, I'm gonna make money. Well, wrong. Yeah, like even with all the people coming in, I was still not making as much as people thought. Like they're like, you're working all the time, and it was just like with the overhead and everything else, it just wind up being like, I don't think I was super under, but I was like maybe breaking even. It takes at least like a couple years to actually make money in a gym.
That's scary.
Super scary. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going with it. Just, make it up off the top of my head and learn from it. It was going. So I had the gym, and during the time I had in the gym, I was got back on American Ninja Warrior, which is great. And that season I went.
So wait, was American Ninja Warrior always the goal?
No, not at all. Actually, Ninja, I accidentally got in a Ninja. My friend was making an application, and I needed a videographer, and I knew a great videographer in Rhode Island. So I was like, let me help you. We'll put a video together. And while we were putting the video together, the videographer was like, why are you not trying out for it? And I was very much the kind of person, he was like, I don't want to get in someone's way. I don't want to make it seem like I'm competing with them. Like, I was very like kind of shy with like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, you need to make a video. So he made me a video also that night. Very quick, whatever. And I got on and she didn't. I hate saying that story because it sounds so bad. I felt so bad. I just assumed she was going to get on too because she was amazing. So I was like, all right. But I went up getting on. And then after I competed on that, I became addicted to it. I was like, I love this. This is amazing. So I got super addicted, then didn't get on for 2 seasons and was super upset about it, but I kept training. And then I got on and wound up getting on, crushing the course, but tearing my ACL. Awesome. Like on the course. And I just remember being
on TV.
On TV, everything, in front of everybody, but was crushing the course at least, right? So at least it wasn't like on the first obstacle or something.
You didn't fall in the water.
Yeah, but right there, like my mind just kind of and we can definitely, once we get into like the triggered stuff, like we'll probably talk more about this, but it just made me realize that I wasn't feeling good in owning the gym. It was stressing me out. I really wanted bigger things. I kept, traveling back and forth in between New York because I loved that community and the fitness and stuff like that. And I was doing random things with women's health, and I was like, you know what, like this is the time. Like I was 26 or something, and I was like, I'm only 26. Before I thought like 21 was like old. I don't know why. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like I'm like, no, I'm only 26. Like if I'm gonna leave, like if I want to settle down, have a family, I keep the gym, right? If I really want to travel and expand and meet and learn, I'm like, I can't be owning a gym right now. So I shut it down. And then I wind up.
You actually shut the gym down.
I shut the gym down. I sold everything.
Hold on. Okay, so that's a big jump, right? So yeah. You shut the gym down, and then you started coming to New York City, right? That was the thing. So what was that moment that you were like, no, I'm actually doing this right now? What was that trigger that actually made you change your life completely?
What's crazy is the trigger was definitely the ACL tear. It was just that moment of you just sitting there, hopeless. I can't walk. I can't do this. And realizing that, when you think things are going your way, like something might come like and bring you down. Like you don't know, like I realized like you really don't know how long you're gonna have your body. Like what if I got into a car accident, and why am I sitting here the whole time thinking and like being like, oh, like I can't leave here. I feel bad, whatever. When it's like, no, like if that's what you're feeling, you need to go do that because you don't know how much time you have. So you might as well do it now.
How long were you hurt for before you actually made that decision, or was it instant?
It was literally like instantly, like literally within, so I gave myself like 2 weeks to be super depressed about it. And then literally like the next week I was like starting to figure out plans of how I was going to do this. Like, how am I going to shut down? And then also, how am I going to tell all these people that I created this giant community with that I'm leaving to move to New York City with no plan? Also, I had no plan in the city. My plan was like, I'm going to shut down the gym, go back, live at my parents' house, my dad's house, pay no rent. And commute into the city every day and just figure it out. Like
that was literally that was when I first met you.
Yeah, you literally met me then when we were twins. That's literally when you met me. Was when I was like, I had no idea. Same thing. I kind of had some money saved up, but not a lot. But since I had no, at home expenses, it was like it was fine. And I was just like, I'm just going to give myself a couple months and just kind of wing it. Like, I had no idea like what I wanted to do.
You used to come to the gym with the little rolly. The rolly case.
Yeah. Literally, I would have like my clothes with me. I was sleeping on people's couches. There was times where the train like wouldn't come and it was delayed. So like I would have to like beg people to stay on their couches. So got really close to a lot of the New York people pretty quickly. Because I'm like, hey, I know you just bet me, but can I stay on your couch like now?
So when that started to get weird, right? Like then you're starting to bounce around. You didn't make a full commitment into New York City yet. You were still living for free, like at your dad's, and you were like committed, but not fully committed, right? Because there wasn't an expense there. So what was that moment and that trigger that led you to actually making the jump and making that further commitment?
To like moving to the city, like fully?
Yeah.
So I was telling you before, I was working at, I guess I won't say the name. I was working at a boxing gym, and I was really exhausted from the traveling in and out, and started, I definitely started to, kind of get a name in the city finally. Like, feel like people actually knew who I was. They knew the things I do. And then I just was so tired one day from commuting, like at 12 o'clock at night. I was so exhausted, and I had gotten fired from the job, and I was like,
I love
fuck.
getting fired. It's the best.
Yeah. And I was just like, I need to make a change. I need to do something. And I had some money saved up. I literally looked at this apartment that I'm in right now, and I fell in love with it. Like, it's like sometimes you see something and you're like, wow, I love this. I love it. I just feel like this is like homey, whatever. And I, somehow within a day, with a couple of friends' help, I figured out how to fill out an application for an apartment. Because with being a personal trainer, it's hard to show that you're making any income. So it's just really tough. So I had to write all this stuff.
How'd you jump through that hoop?
So actually, I was just thinking now, I moved right before I got fired because I had that gym write me a letter saying that I was making money.
Nice.
Yeah. And then they fired me like after I got it. So I literally like wound up, that's why I was like crying hysterically when I got fired, because like, oh my God, I just got this apartment. Like, like how am I going to do this? So I had to do a whole process there. And I was really scared because, not having a job then any of this apartment in the city, which is really, it's expensive. You're like, oh my God, like how am I gonna do this? But what's so interesting is when you're forced to do something, like when you are like, you have no other choice, but you figure it out. Like you make that money, especially your rent. You normally will make your rent because you're like, I have to. There's I have the choice.
That's real.
So crazy. Right. Yeah.
So, now, what's like next for you? What's the thing that you're focusing on accomplishing now?
So right now I'm really, really focused on making a giant impact on like online, but I want to say, you say online, but I think of it as like to the world, right? It's pretty cool that we're able to access and reach people from all over the world now. That wasn't really.
It's literally the coolest thing in the world. I used to take it for granted. I didn't really understand how cool it was. Now I think it is the most valuable, coolest thing in the world after being quarantined.
Absolutely. And I feel like, I got a great opportunity to, I'm training people on the lives on the Instagram for Women's Health 3 times a week, which is a huge opportunity because I'm able to reach so many people. So instead of me thinking, I think a lot of people are taking, they freak out a lot about money. And I feel like I don't really worry so much about money anymore because I've been like poor and I've been, I don't really think about it anymore. Instead of thinking about money and thinking like, how can I impact these people as much as fucking possible? Nice. Because the money's going to come after that. Like that will all come, but how can I actually help these people? So my major thing right now is just getting on different platforms, creating things that are accessible for people who maybe don't have money right now. So I do donation events right now on Sundays. It's like, to give what you can. If you can give $1, give $1. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm here to help you and actually talk to you face to face and have a real connection to show you guys that you can get through this, and you can, you know, push yourself wherever you are right now, fitness wise or like life wise, that you can there. So right now I'm just all about the impact. Like, how can I make this impact? I just launched a core program. I didn't really launch the core program to make money, which is crazy, even though I did. I launched the core program because everybody was saying how bad their backs were hurting and how their necks are hurting, and like from all these home workouts. So I saw the need to help them more, to like, this is a time where we can teach them how to actually use the core with core movements that are real, like, you know, like dead bug, like things that like maybe like seem boring, but are like the actual way to get it. And I had a huge thing from that, because again, I think it's just like, I realized that how can I actually help these people? What do they need? And how can I like give them what I've learned through my experience? So yeah, I'm just all about impact right now. Like, how can I help?
So the thing that gets you out of bed, impact.
Yeah. And it's crazy too, because I make a vision board every year, and my vision board this year, the word in the middle was momentum. I felt like I wanted to pick up this momentum. And I think the momentum is a little different than I thought before. Before, my momentum was like, you know, I was getting all these big gigs and doing all this stuff. But once that's, you know, got caught up, I think my momentum's now bigger with momentum for the impact of people. Like now, because of this, you know, because of what's going on right now, I'm able to impact people quicker than I was before, because, you know, everybody's just looking for something to help them.
Interesting. That's so okay. So you're saying that you felt that your momentum was different than it is now. Like the momentum type, or the type of momentum, is different than it is now.
Yeah. Because before it was a lot of, I was getting a lot of gigs to, you know, fly and do like fitness. I guess you call it fitness modeling, but it's really like you're actively doing the fitness workouts and stuff like that, all like in different spots of the world, and you're getting paid for it, which is great. So you're going to make a great impact there. But now since this, I feel like my momentum has shifted, because my momentum is definitely more like less about, I guess that was more a little bit about me. Right. And like, this is more about everybody else, which is where it should be anyway. Again, you should obviously have things and dreams for yourself, but like, if you can, you know, help others, that's a bigger.
That's an interesting perspective shift for sure. I had a similar transition with that as well. And I think that's one of, you know, my triggers, is trying to navigate that world of, you know, being a leader and a collaborator, right? Like a leader and a servant at the same time. It's a weird blend for sure. All right.
I totally agree.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay. So your biggest thing is impact. That's the thing that's getting you out of bed in the morning. That's like the trigger that gets you going, keeps you going, and really just continually pushes you forward, or you use that to continually push you forward. What's the trigger that stops you dead in your feet?
The trigger that stops me, it's definitely, so I was thinking about this before, and I definitely think that a lot of times I'm doing things and I'm just, again, like trying to create that impact, but then sometimes for sure I'll stop and I will start to compare myself, and then start to be like, I'm not good enough. Like, and I will feel bad about myself, which is crazy. Like, I'll literally sit there and just feel down. Like, oh, I'm never going to be that good. No one's ever going to look at me that way. So I definitely think I compare myself, like I said, like not good enough. Mm-hmm. And I definitely think a lot of times I do get like the imposter syndrome because of that. Because I mean, I must have imposter syndrome, right? If I'm sitting here being like, I'm not good enough, and all my friends are like, you're doing so much more than like half people are right now. But I don't really like see that sometimes, right? Sometimes I'm sitting here and I'm like, no, I could be doing more. I could be better. Like, I know why am I not good enough? So I definitely can get down on myself because of that. And I'm not sure if it's just like the type of person I am, but I definitely get triggered by that. And sometimes it takes me from stepping away. And especially like on Instagram right now, like just stepping away, maybe not looking at things and not trying to compare myself. And also realizing that, everybody's on their own journey. So it's like, you don't really know what they had to go through to get where they are, and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I definitely get caught up in not feeling like I'm good enough for sure. And a lot, and not just with like fitness, with just like all sorts of life situations.
Yeah, like all like well, how you do one thing or how you look at one thing is how you interact with
Yeah,
all things. So
absolutely.
okay, so a lot of what I heard was really the comparison bigger than like imposter syndrome, great, but the comparison, right? Like the comparison of yourself of where you should be, or of a better version of yourself that you think you should be, or the comparison of someone else or to someone else. That's pretty big. So can you, I guess, to give us more context or to kind of look a little bit deeper at that, can you give us like a very specific example? It doesn't have to be from very recently, or it can be recently, but like let's get like a real specific example, and let's talk about like how you processed it and how you worked through it and how you learned from it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a really good one actually I can think about right now. So like obviously I was really proud of myself for coming back from Ninja Warrior and helping so many people get their pull-ups and finally getting my getting people to see that I am a good trainer and I'm knowledgeable and they should use me for things because I know what I'm doing. But one of the things I've always wanted, and it's been on my vision board since 2016, is I wanted a cover of a magazine with just me on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I constantly start to compare myself and get upset. Upset. I'm happy for some people that I see getting it, but I'd seen that one of my friend has gotten it and I'm so excited for her, but also in the back of my head, I was like, why am I not good enough? Like, why have they not chosen me yet? Like, I just kept like, and I very much like fight for it. And I know people and I ask like, can I always ask about covers and stuff like that. And for some reason, I still feel like, I'm like, why am I not good enough to get this cover? Like, and it's such a small thing, but that's the one thing I really want for myself. I'm like, I really want that cover. And it makes me feel like, again, why am I not good enough? I'm making an impact. I'm helping people. Why? But I started realizing, one, I was so proud of my friend who's been on such a long journey to getting that cover. So like, why am I upset? Like, shouldn't be upset about that. And then also realizing like, how important is it actually? Like, is that cover really that important? Or is it, I know it's obviously something that I want, but I can create the same amount of impact if I have the cover or I don't, type of thing.
It was you used it as a marker of your own success.
Yeah, I'm like, if I get the cover, then that means that I'm. And I was always told you. I went on that retreat and I had said we had to write down a list of what we want in our vision. We had to write our vision down and read it out loud to everybody, which I thought was really great. And one of the things I had written in my vision, you had to write it as if you were in the present and it actually happened. And I was like, I wrote something like, I finally am actually relevant in the industry or something like that. And I remember Brian looked at me and was like, Angela, you already are relevant. Like, and I think that was like a big moment because, I feel like the cover would have made me relevant, but that's not what makes you relevant. What makes you
Yeah.
relevant is what you're doing. But yeah, it's still always in the back of my head. Like I just keep posting like I want that cover. I want that cover. I want to show people that I made it. I made it. It's what is making it. But yeah, no, I definitely get hung up in that. I think that's a really great example of it.
That's huge, and it's. I think you really touched on a big thing right there, where you said, "I want to be relevant in the industry," and you were looking at the cover as being relevant in the industry. So you were looking at the recognition of someone to make you relevant, but failing to recognize that it's actually what you do on a day-to-day basis that makes you relevant. And that's big.
Exactly. Which is the things like the little things that I feel like a lot of people don't do right now on media, where I make sure I literally answer back every message. Like, you message me, like I'm messaging you. I'm gonna help you. Whatever I have to do. Like that's I feel like is a big impact. People in my programs, I'm always making sure they're okay. Like I check in on all of them, even when I'm exhausted. Like I make sure I check in on them. I feel like that is what makes me relevant, is the fact that I really do care and I want these people to succeed. They're not a number to me. They are people that need help.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's what makes me like set aside from some. I'm not saying all people are like that and think people are just a number, but you can see a lot of it out there.
I love that. Okay. So you also mentioned that when your friend first got that cover, and you found yourself that you were like kind of pissed, like you wanted to be happy for her, and you were happy for her, but your immediate feeling wasn't happiness. It was more of like the I don't know what you would call it, more like sadness or anger or questioning or like jealousy, like whatever that may be of like, well, why wasn't this me? Right? Like, why didn't this happen to me yet? How long did it take you to realize that that was happening?
Yeah, that's a good question. I have to think about how long it. Yeah, and I remember being so like not angry, but I was upset because I was like, I've known these people for this magazine for so long, and I know everybody, and
Yeah.
she just walks in and gets, you know what I mean? I'm trying to think of how long it took me. I think maybe for the first like it took me like a day or two, and then I like sat back and like really had to breathe because I really wanted to genuinely, when I told her like congrats, whatever, be really happy for her because I was. So it definitely took me like maybe a couple of days because I had to sit down and reflect about it though. I had to. Like I had to sit down, I journal, I had to
Like
sit down, I had to journal
you knew
about
something
it.
was bothering you.
I knew, yeah. I was like, I had to journal, and I didn't want it to also consume me because what I've seen so many times before. I mean, it happens to me, but it happened to this one girl that I knew. When I was doing gymnastics, there was this girl who was always jealous of me, and it was crazy because I was just working hard and just getting my skills. But this girl, instead of focusing on her own skills, she wasn't getting better because she was focusing on me so much. And I always go back and look at that because I bet you if she would have really focused just on herself, and if she would have really like put just not had her head looking at me the whole time, she would have definitely succeeded way more.
Did you ever see that Michael Phelps gif or Michael Phelps meme where Michael Phelps is like he's ahead and the person that's right behind him is actually staring at him as they're swimming, and Michael Phelps is just looking straight at the end, the finish line. And it was just like, yeah, winners focus on winning. Second place people focus on the winner.
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. That's definitely the way to think of it. And I flash back to those moments because I remember like, no, I saw like I was in my own lane, and that's why I did really well with my gymnastics career. And again, I don't want to be the person who's constantly looking at that. So yeah, it took me a little bit, and then I was like, no, I got to be back in my own lane. And I'm like, I still want to get that cover, so I'm still going to do things to try and get myself towards that. And also realizing that it's going to happen for me when it's time.
Yeah.
Maybe I wasn't ready for that cover then when she got it, and I didn't realize that. And same thing with my ACL tear, right? When I tore my ACL in Ninja, how upsetting is that? I just worked so freaking hard to get back on it, and I tear my ACL. I was so miserable. But knowing that a year later when I came back, I was like, this is why it happened. There was a reason. I wasn't ready then to to get to the finish line. I was ready now after I had to go through all that journey. But it took you a while. I mean, again, it sounds easy now when I say it, but like you have those moments where you're just so upset and in your head, and it's so hard to get out of it. So hard.
It's so hard. What are some of the things that you start doing that are sabotaging you from your goals, right? Like when you're in your head, when you're going through the imposter syndrome, when you're going through the comparison stuff, and you're feeling a little bit down, you're a little bit depressed. What are some of the things that you start to do? Like, do you binge eat? Do you?
I definitely don't. I don't binge eat or anything, but I get really anxious, and it's crazy. I actually become paralyzed in a way. Like I stop because there's so many thoughts in my head going on, and I'm normally a very much and people might see this right now in quarantine. Like I'm going, like I'm working, I'm in my lane and doing my thing. But when stuff like this happens, I stop, and it's like almost as if like again like I'm paralyzed because I'm thinking so much about all this stuff that's not relevant, and it wastes a lot of time. So for me, it's not anything that I don't binge eat, I'm doing like that, but I just literally cannot do anything. Even if I had written my goals, I look at it and it's like, I can't do it. Like, why can't I do it?
Same exact thing happens to me. What does being paralyzed look like for you? Are you just like on the couch? Are you in bed, like just laying there?
Definitely sleeping a lot. It's definitely like paralyzing. I feel like it's almost like like a depression type of thing. Like
it's like a short term, like mini depression. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I feel like I'm more tired. I won't get myself to work out because I'm just like, oh, like why do I need to work out? I don't follow my schedule. If I write a schedule out for myself, like things like that will happen. But yeah, no, I definitely get down. I want to say, you're saying binge eating, but I feel like maybe I'd eat less probably.
Okay.
I feel like I eat less because when I get nervous and stuff, like some people binge eat, I definitely will just don't have an appetite like at all. Just leaves me completely.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is huge because I totally know the paralyzing feeling. I know a lot of people have gone through feeling paralyzed, and it's hard to get out of, right? So what's your first step of getting out of that?
First step is like, you have to kind of be in it for a second. So I feel like what I've learned is that like I can't like fully just be like I got to get out of it right now, because I feel like you need to feel whatever you're feeling.
Yeah,
You kind of have that. Especially when I got injured too, it's like you need to feel that motion. It's very important to actually feel and understand it. And then the next step was, because someone had told me once, actually, this is a great thing. They said to me, it's okay that you're feeling this way, but she always said to me, do not get stuck there. Like you should feel it, but don't get stuck in that spot.
yeah.
That really like sat with me, because I'm like, all right, I'm gonna let myself do this. I'm gonna watch a couple shows and be paralyzed, and then I'm gonna get up. First thing I have to do is I had to start journaling, because I had to journal it out, like my thoughts. I think journaling is a really important, and even if you journal, and I mean, I've looked back at some of my journal topics, and it's just like it's scribbled, like you can't even read it. Even if like you're kind of writing it and you're like not really writing it, it's still just the idea of like getting it out.
It's getting it out. That's the biggest thing. It's just getting it out. I actually over this period, this quarantine period, I told you before we started recording how much kind of shifted in my life, and I actually got in a sculpture notebook. So the really big notepads that are just blank, like thick sheets of paper. So there's no lines or anything, and I just look like a mad person scribbling all over it, and it's been the most helpful thing.
It's therapeutic too. It's like you just kind of like sometimes I'm writing and I'm just like, I can't read that. I have no idea what that says, but I don't care. I'm just like in my head and it's coming out on paper.
Yeah.
So the journaling definitely helped me for sure. And I was like trying to keep a really good routine with that, like making sure I journal sometimes I do it in the morning, but sometimes I do it at night. It just depends on like what my day is. But that definitely helps me to start to get out of it. And then to start to write down my goals. That helped a lot. Like, I'm like, all right, well, what are my actual goals now? What am I going to have to do to get towards that? All right, I have to do this, this, and this, and breaking it down into steps so it doesn't seem so overwhelming to get out of it.
But it's a big goal. It's very overwhelming when you're sitting there paralyzed on the couch.
Yeah, so I'm like, what one thing can I start with? And we were talking about this with fitness the other day, actually, in one of my other calls. And it was like, all right, let's say you get into your workout and you're like, oh, like I can't do this. I don't want to do this. I have to do 10 of these. You know what? Then just do one. Just do one. Just start somewhere, right? Do one. And maybe once you do that one, you might want to do two. So that's why it's important, like even with your goals, to just like start to write out those different steps, and then, just try and actually just do one thing in there. Even if it's the smallest thing, even if it's like, all right, just clean your house, feel better like about that. Like, okay, let's do that to start.
So like just starting small, right? Like what is the smallest step that you can do to move you forward? I was actually that's been very helpful for me over the past few weeks as well. I was doing a bunch of reading on entrepreneurs that have lost everything at one point of their life and then had to rebuild from nothing. And you're talking about like dudes in their 50s that just like their businesses went bankrupt, like they got a divorce, like their whole entire life just shattered. And then I read 3 different stories like that, and each one of them was just like, yeah, you have to start from the very smallest step that you can do. Like, what can you do right now that's just easily executable, and that's it. And that's where you start. And when you try to do more than that, you're just going to be paralyzed.
Exactly. Because then you start to think of so many different things. And that's just in general. Like, I've even gotten paralyzed, like, not even from this whole comparison thing, but one, just like I have so many goals that I want to do, and then I'm trying to do them all at once. And it's just like, and then you just wind up getting none of it done. Like, because you're just like trying to do all of it. So that definitely I've learned from that. I'm lucky now because I have somebody help me a bit with my business. So we have calls every Wednesday, and it's so funny because every time it's like I have a whole list of things we need to go over. And then we stop and we're like, we just need to focus on one of these things today. Yeah. Not all of it, just one thing. Let's try and get this one thing done, and we'll figure out, like, that's good. It's on the list. Like, especially if you have ideas, if you have a brain like probably like me and Angelo, because I swear we both have the same brain. I'm constantly thinking, and then I don't want to forget like about something. So I always say, like, as long as you like just write it down somewhere so it's there, you know it's there, and you can always go back to it once you write it down.
Once it's written down, you can always go back to it. It's a game changer. Like, oh, that's still there. That's right. I could still do that. You know, I have a hard time being creative, and then, well, not being creative. That's my easiest thing. And then executing fast enough, or learning some new task to execute the new thing fast enough to keep up with my next idea, right? Like the progression of it, and not getting lost or frustrated in the learning curve of having to learn to do like a new online thing. Like I'm about to launch another product, and it's the same thing. I find myself like, I needed help on by one of the internet platforms, the streaming platform that we use. And I got so frustrated for like 2 days, and I ended up not having time to get to the help desk because I had to go do something else on the farm. And literally I just went on the help chat thing today and spent the 30 minutes and went over it with them. And I was like, oh, all my anxiety went away. How about that?
Really insane. It's so funny. I had something kind of like that the other day. I tried to write out all my content because we were launching the core program. So I was trying to write out all my content for a week. So I'm like, all right, if I write it out for the week, then it's going to be done and everything's going to be made. And for some reason, it was just such an overwhelming task. And it took me 3 days to do it, which is stupid. It should have taken literally 30 minutes. But then one day I finally just went on and it just happened. I was able to click and do it.
I think that's the thing though. I think that with creativity, creative work, there's these ebbs and flows, right? It's not up here cruising the whole time. It's I hit it, I crush it, and then I dip out, I got to go do something else, and then not mess with it at all, right? And then you're like, no, I got to get this done, and then you crush it again, and that's been a struggle for me too, because I try to I'll try to be creative and really build the same thing out 3 or 4 days in a row, and it doesn't work.
I couldn't agree more. There's actually a proven, I don't know if there's a book on it or something, but there's a proven, I guess everybody has their creative, you can actually actually figure out when you're going to get those creative jumps. If you actually I guess write out when you're getting them, it's certain times of the month or something. Someone was saying that, or certain times of the day, you can start to jot out when you're the most creative. And stuff like that. If you start to do it every day, if you start to map it out, you can find a pattern for yourself. I haven't done that.
That's huge.
But I guess it's a pattern. But you're right, with creative work, it's really hard, and especially with launching my core program too. I was really frustrated because I did all of it. You do the whole back end, everything. I created all the videos, and the other day, it's actually been my relaxed 2 days because I was just literally at the screen editing for days, and on top of editing, I was messaging back every single freaking person. And doing all the stuff for it, and all of a sudden my brain was just going to explode. I'm like, oh my God, I need a second. These past 2 days I've been a little more chill, and also a lot more understanding to myself, because I get really hard on myself because I really want to answer back all the emails. I want to be there for them all the time, but sometimes you have to realize that if you take a step back for a second, you're probably going to do better with it. So that's what I did these past 2 days. I chilled out a little bit because it was a go for a week type thing.
Yeah, you gotta reel it in a little bit.
Yeah, had to go outside today, work out outside.
I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Last one.
Yeah.
What triggers your own authentic joy and happiness?
Ooh, that's so
the most not an ego-driven joy, the feeling of true fulfillment where you're this is good. This is good.
Oh, that is such a tough one. It's so funny too, because I don't know, have you ever read the 5 love language books? I'm reading it right now. I love it so far. I'm you learn more about what makes you happy or whatever.
Yeah, it's not what you think, right?
Yeah, I still not done. I still have to finish reading it and do that. I haven't finished it. I think what my think mine is right now is I think that it's I like when, people are there for me and actually, show appreciation. I'm not so much of a gift or thing type person. That doesn't do it for me. I don't need gifts. I don't need whatever. I need you to show up. I need you to call me and ask me how I am. I like that kind of stuff or whatever.
Lovely.
I'm trying. Yeah, we're the same. I'm trying to think, what it's so funny though, because it's supposedly like the both personality, like if you're one personality, you normally match with the opposite. That's what it was saying too, which is really interesting.
I've tried dating the same personality and it really doesn't.
It's too much.
It really doesn't work. I love the idea of it working and it just doesn't work.
I'm trying to think, the trigger authentic joy and happiness. That's a really hard question because I have to think about that. I feel like especially lately I've been so absorbed in my work and everybody else's happiness that sometimes you kind of forget what like yours is.
That's why the last question, so you ponder on it.
Yeah, I think I know what right now, just today being outside and being away from my phone and being really present, I think that really makes me really happy because I feel like sometimes I'm so caught up in like these days are blending together. And that's scary to me because I feel like I want to be present. I would love to actually remember every day, and because again, you don't know how much time you have, so it's like really important to be present. So I love those moments where you are just really present. Your phone's off to the side. I had a moment when I was at that retreat with Brian, and he has this beautiful house on the beach, and it was just like being outside without my phone and just being there. I think that's like really what gives me that joy and happiness. Is to really be present, which I struggle with for sure. I feel like I definitely struggle with being fully present sometimes when you're going, and constantly looking to do that next thing. Like we were even talking about the cover, right? So I'm so focused on getting that cover that you're not as present during the journey because you're just like, I need that. Like, give me that. Give me right there. But yeah, I definitely think that's what brings me happiness. Just really being present. And especially now, I've realized how I want to be even more present with my mom. Like I was definitely present before, but not in the way that I could have been. Like especially like I miss my mom so much now, and I'm just like being with her and actually listening to her and like just actually spending time with her and listening to all her craziness.
Yeah.
I feel like that's like a really big thing, and also with friends as well. Like just really sitting there and listening to them and like understanding them and being present with them. So yeah, I feel like that's it.
So some good, authentic, undisrupted connection.
Yeah. Like no phone, no like this. Like there's so much time we're all just looking at our phones and shit. Like some real like present.
Even worse now.
I know, it definitely is. It's so funny. I feel like I don't know if you've been the same way too, but I'm like definitely craving that connection with people. Like real. Like I mean, again, I'm getting a lot of it from women's health and people I don't know, but I've been craving like I live by myself, right?
Yep.
I don't have a significant other. I have friends, but they have like their own thing. So I feel like lately I've been craving that like someone talk to me, like you know what I mean, like. Like just so it's like nice even today, just like I've definitely met up like with those two people, even though we don't like go near each other. We're like very social distance.
Social distance workouts.
We're social distance working out, but I definitely like miss that connection and being able to like just talk to somebody and listen to them and just be around a person. Definitely missing that.
I love that. Do you have a glass of water by your bed?
Look at that water.
Do you have a glass of water by you?
I have a whole gallon of water.
That's right. Well, Angela, it's been a pleasure chatting with you. I think we covered a lot of really impactful and helpful things here. And I want to commend you for sharing your most authentic feelings and the journey that you've gone through to really recognize them and verbalize them for all of us to hear.
Yeah, this is great.
And
cheers.
Cheers.
I'm not going to drink the whole gallon.
Chug it. All right. Ange, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, for sure. Well, message me. And yes, and we'll talk. Let me know when this is going to come out.
Awesome. And more importantly, not more importantly, but also you need to come to South Jersey when this whole thing is over because I'm making some real fun obstacles that all deal with hanging from your hands.
Yay! I'm there. You let me know. I'll get there.
Perfect. All right. Sleep well, my angel.
Bye.